We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, stay with this group. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, don't forget to check out the feedback form in the comments down below. All right, a bit of a fireside chat style talk this morning. So the great news is, obviously, the market is going up. Why is the market going up for anybody who is just tuning in now? I think the last 4 months have been an effort to short altcoins and push altcoins down in order to try to get as much Bitcoin as possible. Yesterday, we talked a lot about how much Bitcoin's been amassed by BlackRock, by over-the-counter desks. The amount of Bitcoin that they need for this ETF, combined with guys like Michael Saylor and other corporations buying it, to be followed most likely by the U.S. Treasury, resulted in months and months and months of literally using catalysts to try to lean on the market. And now, especially after this big crash that happened at the beginning of the month, you have a market that is very, very short, meaning hedge funds may be underinvested, and shorts in individual altcoins are getting blown out one by one. Part of the thing that's driving what's happening is expectations that Jerome Powell at a news conference or at a conference in a place called Jackson Hole, Wyoming, is going to come out and effectively announce a dovish stance and or rate cuts. So the good news is crypto's higher. That's great. The good news is a lot of coins, I don't know, like first it was Aave, then it was Phantom. The DeFi coins are moving. Now it feels like everything is moving. That's the good news. Now, I think if you've been in the market, there's no reason to get out of the market unless you're cleaning out positions you don't want anymore. Now, with this market going up only for like 4 days into the speech, I think it sets up a possible disappointment trade, because I think all Powell really has to say is, yeah, we can acknowledge there are risks to the economy, employment is softening, and we're waiting for more data about inflation, something like that. Okay, I don't think the market wants to hear that. So I don't know that I would necessarily FOMO in before Powell says anything. Okay. After Powell says, hey, we're dovish, or hey, we'll cut rates, then I think you can start jumping in. But I don't want to get caught in anything that looks like sell the fact or any type of disappointment trade, because you may get a quality dip to grab this. So don't FOMO in before Powell. Okay, let's welcome here. We have Kane, Alexandra, Zapetis is here. Welcome. Thoughts on Litecoin? I will write it down and we will check it out. Okay, today's text bites. Corey, David, Bizan, welcome. A must watch. Carrie, Huber's Ranch, Double Ace, VA Buds. All right, turning in from the road. Welcome. SGSG, the OG, welcome. Malik is here, right? Zach, VA Buds, Ian, Horace, welcome to the show. Mr. Relentless is here. Some relatively new names. Welcome. All right, let's go to news. Okay, looks like everybody wants in on crypto these days. All right. The Russians and the Chinese kicked it all out. Now they're all coming back in. Okay. The race to get as much Bitcoin as humanly possible is on. It's on, right? I've done some not silly videos, but, some attention-getting videos called There Is No More Bitcoin, talking about the shortage of Bitcoin and the supply crunch that literally is here and is only going to get bigger. I mean, it's happening right before our eyes, and they were selling and crashing crypto right as gold was rallying and right as the dollar was coming off. It's literally amazing. Now, as if you needed any more reasons to buy crypto, this thing where, governments don't want you to be as free as you used to be, is serious. And these guys in the UK, they mean business. Now, every country can have their own laws. I'm just telling you right now, people, if they can tell you what to say, they can get your bank account, and you have to be able to use crypto. And it's a question of time before the whole world realizes this. Like in Russia, they're like, well, there could be sanctions. We can't move money around. Let's open up a crypto exchange. This is going to drive people to crypto more and more. And believe it or not, crypto as something rebellious could come back. Literally, like that's what it feels like. People are like, hey, why are we selling this asset class? Why aren't we buying it? You can feel it when you look at the market. Okay, so for on the American, liberal left-wing side, Kamala Harris did her acceptance speech last night. Actually looked and sounded pretty good considering her history of troubled public speaking, but there's really no policies involved. And I think when it comes to markets, right? Okay, this didn't turn out. Oh, here it is. Right. It's heavy on a happy vibe, but it's light on policy. I think they're going to need donations from Wall Street, and I don't know how they're going to get the crypto bro vote unless they fire Gensler. So, she looked like $1 million last night, sounded like $1 million, huge Hollywood production. How are they going to get the crypto bro vote in a close election, particularly with RFK dropping out today? Okay. And, Trump hitting these guys on, relentless inflation. If the Fed is a partisan entity, they would actually cut rates and be super dovish just to try to help them because they don't need the economy falling out of bed. All right. And this, I'm happy about this, but this is also scaring me. You know what I'm saying? Like doves are scaring away the bears ahead of the Fed speech. The Fed has overdone it. We have talked about this. They have raised rates way too much. They have plenty of room to back off. Hopefully they accommodate the market today, but they don't have to, which is why there could be some kind of like sell the fact dip that can help you get involved. Now, if there is no sell the fact dip, then you just go with it. Okay, so a guy I liked in the beginning, RFK, is filling out paperwork to withdraw from the presidential race. They had to get on the ballot one at a time, and I think they have to get off the ballot one at a time now. So it's expected that he's going to endorse Trump. If he does that, very simply, he's probably going to wind up inside the Trump administration. And if he does, that puts a lot of Bitcoin brain power in the White House because he understood Bitcoin and how to use it to back currencies and debt better than anybody. Now, it's not clear whether he's going to wind up with Trump or not, but I don't know. I see this guy coming out and endorsing Trump as net Bitcoin bullish, which is why they could be off to the races this morning. Okay, in a statistic and a news story that is overdone, I've talked about it before, and now I don't know. I think everyone's talking about it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has revised the number of jobs created over the last 12 months down by 1 million jobs, the second biggest revision in history. And it brings into question all the economic data. In my mind, it's always brought into question, like whether or not inflation is actually as bad as it is, or is it companies really taking advantage of high inflation expectations to raise prices on consumers. That may or may not be true. But, if they can get a jobs number that wrong, what other numbers are wrong, right? Okay. And, like it or not, Trump gets that he's got to have the crypto bro vote. So they're announcing some sort of, crypto platform to his 7.5 million followers on Truth Social. There's got to be an incentive to get over to Truth Social, and they have to keep the crypto bro vote. All right. Now let's talk about Bitcoin at 60K. Bitcoin is stuck here, obviously. That leads for boring price action, obviously. Now let's talk about what people have been expecting. I think a lot of traders want to either buy it on a dip at 55 or buy a breakout at 62. I think in order to see something like 55, you're going to have to have like a Fed that either says blank you, we're not cutting rates, or something else negative has to happen. And here's why it may have very limited downside. I've been doing some research about what it costs miners to produce Bitcoin. And one number that popped out using AI was 50K. That's an interesting number, right? In other words, if it costs 40 or 50K to produce Bitcoin, once Bitcoin, like any other commodity, approaches its cost of production, it becomes in the interest of the producers to take capital and rush in and support the market, right? Because, Bitcoin falls below the cost of production, that causes stress with miners. Now, when I remember about, how this market crashed when it went down to 50K, about how scary that was, that could have been just as scary for the miners. And I keep asking myself, because if you have a commodity that's at its cost of production, assuming that's even remotely right, that's a lot of stress you're putting on the system. Why would something as scarce as Bitcoin, I don't know, scare everybody and go down to its cost of production? It's too scarce. It's too much in demand. People want it too much. So even if the cost of production theory is not right, 50K in my mind strikes me as such an even number that there would have to be an absolute disaster to get Bitcoin down there the way this is trading. Even if Powell comes out and says, yeah, guys, I'm glad you're happy and having fun, but, I'll let you know when we're lowering rates. Even in that case, I don't see the lows that we saw back in October. The best you can get, I think, is a healthy dip. And there's also a scenario that you don't even get that this market just wants to go up because altcoins are too oversold. So that's my take on, is it 50? Is it 60? Is it 70? Okay. Bitcoin transaction fees spiked because activity on the network is picking up. Again, does this sound like a market that, I don't know, is going to correct? I mean, sometimes when you have froth on the network, you get a correction, which is why I want to wait until after the Fed to get crazy. All right. Should we be worried about the Ethereum ETF? People are not as interested as they were in Bitcoin because the market is not going up, but BlackRock's Ethereum ETF is now crossing $1 billion in inflows. This idea that Ethereum is dead, this idea that Ethereum isn't going to go up, that like Solana has like completely taken over, I don't think is correct. I think both Ethereum and Solana are going through extended long consolidation phases. And no one is thinking about what happens if they suddenly wake up, like suddenly. Right. In other words, the expectation based on the price action, people have what's called recency bias, right? So if the market's going crazy and the market's going up or the market's flying all over the place, people think that that's going to continue. And sometimes it does. Frequently it does. Right. But when the market is dead, people sit around and kind of build a narrative. It's like, oh, there's no price action, so there must be a problem. No, it's just late August. Wall Street's on vacation. There were a lot of like negative seasonals around September and stuff like that. Yeah. If a negative seasonal plays out in a quiet range, hey, man, that's the best scenario. We've been watching this thing fall apart for 8 months, and now people are trying to invent reasons why the market isn't moving. They're retrofitting things to the price action. So, I mean, here's something that, Galaxy is noting, Ethereum did something to improve the network with roll-ups and layer twos, but it's leading to more failed transactions. So, okay. This has got to do with what goes on underneath the hood. This is probably true, but I trust Vitalik long-term. I think everyone has also forgotten that, Vitalik as the point man of ETH, in some ways, ETH is a bet on Vitalik as a head developer kind of thing. And I just don't see the case to give up on ETH. Okay. And here's Vitalik saying, Ethereum has weakened a lot during this market cycle. And Vitalik is like, I see the big picture. And so do I. In other words, nobody thought DeFi was alive until Aave went up 40%. Nobody was thinking anything about the AI trade, and those coins are up 10% today. Nobody was thinking about layer ones, and Phantom led the way. Avalanche is next. I mean, some of those coins on charts, they're stretching intraday charts all the way up, to the top end of where you would expect resistance, which is why I'm like, don't go crazy before Powell talks. If Powell gives the green light, even the big coins have so much room to go up. You got time. But the point is, everyone thought all these coins were dead. And the next thing you know, everyone's like, oh, wow, look, it's really up. I don't know if I can buy it. Rest assured, if Powell gives the green light, you can buy it. You want to just be careful. You want to just be mindful. It's like, hey, you may get a dip in some altcoins. You may get the dip after he talks. Okay. All right. Solana rivals are back, right? Guys talking about Sui. A definite, like, there are meme coins on Sui that are really popping off hard. Okay. My understanding, I think that the ticker symbol is Blub, right? That's flying over there. I think we're about to do a meme coin season because people are bored. People are bored. Okay. Binance coin started moving. So we had Tron season, Sui season. Now we may have Binance chain season. They want to speculate. They're after it. They're after it. Okay. Let's see who else is here. All right. Who is Paul? I'm not sure who you mean by that. Zach is here. All right. VA Buds looking for freedom. That's my impression of CZ. Yeah, that guy from Binance that had to go to jail for 4 months, man. I tell you what, the day he walks out of jail or home confinement or whatever it is, that's going to be a big day for crypto. Okay, Malik is asking about the Russian crypto exchange. He talked about it as the first story. Don't mind talking about it again. I think everybody has figured out that if you don't hurry up and buy Bitcoin, that there isn't going to be any. And I think that particularly after a country that got hit with sanctions, I mean, I know a guy personally here in the U.S. that had his accounts frozen and couldn't move money around, and he had to use ETH. So, if everyone's doing it, everyone's doing it. We better start doing it too. All these countries that didn't want it, shunned it. I mean, Gensler spent, 6 years trying to run crypto out of the United States. And now everybody's making a 180 to the point where if you don't like crypto, it's embarrassing. All right. Mixabeast is here. Welcome, David. All right, let's go to some live TA. Someone asked about Litecoin. Let's check that out. All right. So one of the things that everyone's drawing, this is a very busy chart. Everyone's drawing this like some sort of flag. And everyone's trying to tell me that the flag is bearish because, I mean, if you look up in a chart textbook and, you see a big down move like this, and then this thing pops up like this in a grinding kind of way, that it's bearish. Now, my experience in crypto is that when they make these type of formations, they usually resolve themselves to the upside. Okay, naturally, that said, if there was some kind of Fed disappointment trade, because this is all Fed dependent at this point. Now, if we look at the bigger picture in something like Litecoin and come off this, okay, you're going to see a couple things. Okay, so this is a 2-day chart of Litecoin. And I think this is cruel. Actually, let's go to a 3-day chart just to yeah, okay, let's drive to point home. This is a good chart. So go back to last year. So Litecoin is now basically where it was back in September and June of 2022. So, and this is not something I draw. This is like, I don't know, it's called a breaker in Lux Algo. And you can see, when you move the mouse, that Litecoin made a huge bottom here last year, right? There was a huge crash in August. Sound familiar? There was another dip in January to retest that low. Then Litecoin sat on top of this and then proceeded to move higher. Currently, Litecoin is doing something very similar, right? It's back down here at 62. And do you really want to sell fast versions of money down here? No. I mean, you definitely don't. I mean, I understand people are probably really frustrated, but I mean, what happens if this is like some kind of giant, because I'm always talking about square consolidations, right? Like those are the healthiest in crypto, not flags and triangles. What happens if this is just a giant square consolidation to move much higher? Now, if you zoom in down here, okay, it may be a little hard to see, but Litecoin, this is like a green band down here. Let me see if I can take this off and make it easier. Okay, there's like a green band down here that indicates, like, I don't know, that you're in a deeply oversold situation. Yeah, I mean, Litecoin has hit this twice recently. So I think you get the overall point that, this is like, should you be a net buyer or a net seller just based on support and resistance? I think the answer in a lot of these coins is pretty clear. It's pretty clear, right? I mean, if you go, like, just say, if we looked at the same chart, I don't know, I'm just being random here. Just like look at the same chart of like Ethereum, okay? So Ethereum on a 3-day chart is different, right? There is resistance at 3,000. So this chart is, different. But you can see Ethereum hit this green band here and a ton of support on this 3-day chart. In other words, Ethereum actually went down and tested a congestion zone from where this whole rally started in December and January. In other words, if you're bearish Ethereum, you think they're going to be able to take it through that wall of support. I don't think so. I mean, what would create that? A network failure? Also, if you look at the Williams oscillator on the 3-day chart, even though it's hard to see, the Williams oscillator is getting close to zero, which means a big move is coming. All we need is a green light from Powell, really. And again, the market's been going up for 4 days. Big coins have done nothing. And I understand that, everybody who bought Ethereum and everybody who got excited about the Ethereum ETF going all the way back to February is underwater, which is brutal, right? In other words, one of the things we talked about a lot, throughout the year is how brutal bull markets can be. That's right. I used the right word there. Bull markets can be. Bull markets will go up You'll have FOMO beyond. I've never seen FOMO the way I saw FOMO up here. Like people were like having a mental breakdown because they thought that they missed it, and this whole cycle moved without them. And I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, take some profits, but it pays to be a pig. That was really intelligent, like when we were in this stage of the move. Okay. But as soon as the music stopped, first they bored you and then they tortured you by blowing everyone out. Who's left long? This is one of the reasons why bull markets like really can mess with your head. Who's left long? Like, think about it. At 4,000, everyone was talking 7,000, right? When you're down here at 2,500, everyone thinks it's over. It's not over. Like this, going up forever isn't right, and never moving again isn't right. I mean, Ethereum is essentially back where it was back in 2002, pre-FTX. And it's also pretty clear, this is Solana, right? That there is a big seller in this. We talked about it yesterday where some whale was selling, like $90 million worth of Solana. But the beautiful thing about the recent crash is that it made Solana a square consolidation. Now, the fact that Solana can't rally is obviously not good, but maybe it's something like Fed comes out and boom. Right? Any dip in these things, particularly in a square box, is potentially very constructive. Either the Fed's going to be dovish now, the Fed's going to be dovish in September, and the longer they wait, the greater the consequences. Because right now, I mean, his people are probably telling him, like, dude, if you don't come out and say what the market wants to say, you're going to have a massive reaction, particularly if you go back and look at equities, right? I mean, equities unwound the entire downtrade. They unwound the entire downtrade. And it's not exactly clear looking at a 4-hour chart whether or not, equities are at, it's funny, they're both at resistance and at support. So they're waiting for the Fed, hoping that everything is fine. And I hope everything is fine too. Because if equities can do this, I mean, if you put up a chart of Bitcoin, like if you put the Bitcoin futures contract, right? If you put the Bitcoin futures contract on the same axis, I mean, help me understand this. Okay, equities. Let me see if I can get a nicer line here. I mean, equities went all the way back to its high, and Bitcoin is just sitting here. And a lot of people are trying to tell me that this consolidation in Bitcoin is somehow some type of bearish pennant. Okay. Well, if that's true, you got a long way to go down in equities, or it could be just as simple as Powell coming out, giving everybody the green light, and Bitcoin going right back to its side like equities went back to theirs. In other words, why is everybody buying stocks at the valuation that they're buying it when the case for Bitcoin with gold, silver, the dollar, the governments, the countries that want to get involved, it's that whole thing where they want to hold it down, I think. And of course, now, even if that's not true, I just think people are just too scared to buy it because, you have this crash in crypto that's going to leave a mark for a long time and people are hesitating. So it's Fed dependent, right? If the Fed comes out and says something negative, yeah, Bitcoin is going to go lower and stocks are going to go lower, probably dramatically. But if everything is copacetic, people are going to start asking themselves, particularly on the institutional side, is 60K Bitcoin cheap? Now, one thing I do want to see this morning is I want to see Coinbase wake up. We talked about this yesterday, like what's the most bullish chart in crypto? What's the most bearish chart? I don't like the fact that Coinbase cannot get above 200, right? It's actually 200 to 220. I really want to see this stock get going. Now, in terms of like Kaizen alts, okay, let me get rid of this. Okay, if you start looking at intraday charts, right? Again, we talked about this yesterday. Arkham, square range, breakout, return move, go. 125, 141. Like, what does the market look like if Arkham's at 141? Okay, Avalanche, this is a 4-hour chart, right? Avalanche should have stopped yesterday. I'm not opposed to taking the money, but Franklin Templeton is involved. And if this gets wild, you could be talking about 28 or 30. Okay. Why would the market, and this is something you have to look at because I know the market update is only on like 30, 40 minutes a day. And the rest of the day, you're basically, it's you and your portfolio. But you can hear my Jersey accent in the back of your mind, right? In other words, what goes down a certain way goes back up the same way. It's like high school physics, speed, magnitude, and direction. Like Avalanche went from 32 to 17 in like less than a month. So when it turns around and reverses, it's going to reverse in exactly the same way. And Avalanche is a classic case with security token functionality and Franklin Templeton getting involved. I mean, traders are going to take profits at 28, right? Guys who bought the dip are going to sell when it goes up here, and that's fine. One of the things I've been saying to people is you're going to know what the underinvested coins are. You're going to know what the coins are that are going to take off by what outperforms on this first leg higher, right? So when you look at I'm trying to find Arrow. Okay, here we go. Okay, now what has this done? Nothing yet. Nothing. I mean, on a 4-hour chart, Lux Algo just went bullish. And if you get the green light from the Fed, your upside target could be 89. Reminding you that there are a lot of coins. There are a lot of coins that haven't moved yet. A lot of coins. The Trump token was one of these tokens 2 days ago. It's kind of a classic example of the extent to which people gave up on the entire market. Now, again, you don't have to like this guy. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that this token was at 16 and they were selling it like it was, like it was, I don't know, like it was, like it had a disease. They're like, oh my God, get this away from me. Here's the Lux Algo buy signal here. And then as soon as they take out like a former resistance shelf, the resistance becomes support. I mean, this thing could go to 539. This thing could go to 539. And people are probably asking themselves with RFK coming in, why was I dumping this token and why was I bearish? So you got a lot of tokens, like Pro is only up 1% this morning. Everyone is like, okay, here's this like creeping bid. Okay, here's the AI token Morpheus. I had somebody talk to me about this when it first came out. I know a really smart guy. This is AI waking up. Like, you don't think AI is coming back? This is like up only, blowing through every type of resistance that there is. That's Morpheus. Like first it was DeFi, now it's AI, right? Phantom was in there. If you get the green light from Powell today, let's just look at Fetch since we're doing this kind of live TA style. Okay. Fetch goes down. Like this is the new AI super token. I'm going to remember the name of it one day. It's outside this square range, right? Like, or let's do it this way. Remember everybody was asking me about Litecoin? There's your bear flag, supposedly. Frequently in crypto, these upward sloping ranges resolve to the upside. It's happening in the AI super token. It's happening. So you get clearance from the Fed. There's stuff that's even down this morning. Like, for example, like Velodrome is down. And of course, Lux Algo, as you rally, is putting support underneath the market. There's support here if they're sell the fact. And everyone's like, oh, I can't buy it. It's up too high. If it comes down to that. Really? You can't look at this. And this is like the new technical analysis. It was this way back last summer. It's like, it's up too much. I can't buy it. It's at 0.013 and the high was 0.03. This is like, just grab a percentage thing and do this as an example. Because again, you're going to have to make these decisions about the Fed and your portfolio. I mean, this went down 75% high to low, and it's currently 50% off of its high. Right? So let's sum it up. People have gotten very excited into a very kind of relaxed conference and put a lot of pressure on Powell. It's not Jerome Powell's job to pump everyone's bags, but the guy has over tightened and there are risks to the economy and it's an election year. So if he comes out with a neutral statement, you probably have volatility. I would not go flying into this market until he says something. Be careful of sell the fact. Be careful of any mentality that you have that says, oh my God, I missed it. There won't be a dip. Like first it was going to zero and I can't touch it. And now it's, I can't buy it. Don't do that. Don't. Altcoins are the new tech stocks. Altcoins are massively undervalued. If equities don't go down, crypto's going up a lot because people are short and underinvested. There is no way a crypto hedge fund can afford to look at this creeping up market and not pile in. And who knows, with the big coins, you may have to wait until an actual rate cut occurs. But the things no one's looking for, which is why the market trades like this, is that small coins can do very well. So all you need is some sort of all clear and, eliminate any like overhang from Jackson Hole. And there's a lot of altcoins that just have a lot of room to go up. A lot. For traders, don't be afraid to take some profits if you get euphoria, particularly before Powell talks. There will be dips. You will get an opportunity to come in. There will be profit taking. So don't get unbalanced. First, everyone was unbalanced to the downside. Now people can get unbalanced to the upside. If you're long, stay long, not investment advice. If you're looking to add, you can either add if Bitcoin takes out 62K, or if there's like a simple intraday dip where it kind of goes up and retraces. The bottom line is crypto's back. You want to be involved. And whether it goes straight up or there's a scary dip, the market has told you we want crypto and we're underinvested in alts. We'll see you on Monday.